Welcome. My name is Erik Jõgi and I'm from a small company called Codeborn. And today I really want to challenge you if you really are agile or maybe not so much. But before I go into the agile, I will a little bit on my background, as I think next year I can say I have already been about a quarter of a century a developer, professional developer. So I got my first job 24 years ago. And about in 2000 or 2001 I found a book on extreme programming, and that actually stuck and made very much sense for me. And I've been a practitioner since. Initially maybe not so well, but getting better and better over the time. And then now 4.5 years ago, me and a few colleagues, we started Codeborn, which is you could say a consultancy. We're building software for others, building, some customers are bigger, like used to be some telcos, energy companies, also banks, but also smaller companies, so a wide variety. And we are doing XP, extreme programming, all over. This has been our promise and our main thing from the beginning, that we will only do XP. We are not the kind of shop where you can come in a customer and say, we want you to do today's Scrum, the other guys want Waterfall or something. We will say that we do XP. And we teach our customers as well about how to do the other side, how to do customer side. So, but today, and I'm talking about from this experience of 4 years or 4 more years at Codeborn, but also before that I was at Hansabank/Swedbank, where we also practiced XP in our team quite heavily. So. Based on that experience, how many of you would say that their organization, not yourself, but the organization you're working for, is agile? A few, okay. So, yeah, maybe if you're not agile yet, so maybe it doesn't, so a few heads maybe. So what I want to challenge is actually whether you really are agile. Or maybe sometimes agile is, people claim they're agile when they actually are not. So how many of you know this web address? So a few more hands, very good. Quickly I will switch to, so this is the site. And how many of you actually have gone down here, and here is a link, 12 principles of agile software. That's actually, just because I don't have Wi-Fi, I have it open in another tab. That's on the same site. That's the principles. And here is a list of principles. And this is what it says. We follow these principles. This is not something that you can pick or something. This is, if you follow these principles, then you can say you're agile. If you say you're agile, you should be actually, sorry about that. If you follow these, if you say you're agile, you should be doing all of those things all of the time. Now my aim is actually, I picked 4 or 5 of those that are there out of these 12. And what I want to point out is let's say the crucial points hidden in there, or maybe not so hidden, but what are the important parts that you should be doing when you want to say that you're agile. So this is the first one. And actually this is, I think, pretty much says most of what agile is actually. And everything else is supporting around this. So we have to deliver software to the customer. Everything else is supporting that. And now I picked the early delivery as initially just to take. How many of you are actually able to start the project and then after the first week of when you start the project, after the first week, have already something, working software, maybe very small, but something to show to the customer? Okay, I think even more hands actually that were agile, so we are actually going quite good. So this is a crucial part, is that you should be able to, this is the early delivery. How many of you know what that is? That's big design up front. Or some people say that, no, we cannot start delivery, we have to build that framework first. We cannot do anything before that. Or we have to do the full requirement specification or domain analysis or something. We cannot do anything before that. We cannot start development or delivery. And that's from XP. You ain't gonna need it. Don't do any of that. Start delivering as soon as possible. I mean, we do it with every project we do, however complex they are. We start with the very small things and we actually try to have something to show to the customer after the first week. Sometimes it's even earlier, we can actually have something to show. And yes, it's not a big thing. It's the first story, or maybe the first parts of the first story. But still it's something that tangible that the customer can actually see that most likely these days it's some kind of a web application or a mobile application that you're building, so that the first part is there that actually gives value to them. So another good term is just enough design. You don't need all that big design up front. Just do just enough design that is necessary to do your first thing and worry about the rest of the things later. And this is very important just to start going. And the other side is continuous delivery. So yeah, it's very easy. You could say that it's very easy to push out the first screens or something in the first week, but then get stuck in whatever details these are. And this is where the continuous delivery are. How many of you have actually full test suites on your software that will show that automatically, without human intervention, show that your software is actually working? Okay, a few hands, very good. So unless you have it, you cannot have continuous delivery because you need human intervention every time you need to release something. Do you release every week? How many of you can release something every week? Few more hands. Or actually, we are, for most of our projects, we are able to release every day or even multiple times a day. We really don't care. When we commit new features, the full test suite is run, and then we can basically deploy it to the production environment, whatever that is in different cases. But we are not afraid, and this we do actually with our customers. Some are, let's say, I think the most biggest deployment right now is an internet bank in Russia, where we have actually, for different reasons, deployed multiple times a day new versions, adding some updates because there have been, I don't know, legislative changes that require quick modifications or something. So we actually are able to continuously add value, and when we add the value in these small steps, then this can be continuous, so that you actually can deploy whenever you like. Unless you have this, this is, I think, the continuous delivery is one of the crucial parts. If you don't have it, you cannot say that you're agile, because you can do all your scrums and meetings and I don't know, all that stuff, but if you don't have this, then it doesn't mean something. And this brings to the next, which is, I think, my favorite of all the principles, is that you can only claim progress if you have working software to show that. You cannot say that, we are 99% done with that feature, but we cannot show it yet. Or we have to, we have it, it works on my PC, but it takes time to deploy in the server. So all these kinds of things, if you don't have actually working software to show to the customer, you don't have any progress. So always keep in mind the fact that whatever you do, you have to be able to show to the customer. And by showing, this means that if you're showing something, the software has to be with a quality that you're not, let's say, embarrassed of, so that you actually show and the customer will be happy, or instead, and avoid situations where you show something and say, but it worked on my PC, I don't know what went wrong now. So for this, actually, when we have our weekly iteration meetings with the customer. We do what we call a demo as a first thing on an iteration meeting on what has been done during the previous week, what has been added, the functionality. And usually for this demo, we actually, I think, practice or we prepare for that demo. We make sure that before the iteration meeting, we make sure that the software is correctly, the latest version is deployed to the server where we do the demo, and it is all the required data is available, and nobody has committed a change which is deployed that will break something because someone wanted to do some big refactoring, but it's halfway or something. So we basically take the time to make sure that we have working software when we do the iteration meeting, so that we can actually claim that this is a working software, that we know itself that it works, and we are proud of showing it to the customer. This works, and the customer says, yes, it really works. And the customer actually accepts we have the stories, we have the accepting, basically it's an electronic way of tracking the stories, and there is an accept button, so a customer happily goes, accept, these are done. They are actually seeing that this thing works. So this is actually this is the only way that you can say. Otherwise, or maybe if you're, you have the analysis document done. This really doesn't give anything. This doesn't give value to the customer, only working software. And I think, another is the working software. If you're just doing software that is meeting the spec, but is not actually what the customer wanted, there is actually a big distinction here. Usually, even in agile projects, and in our case also, customers still have some specs. They have maybe they have their own visions which they have written, or maybe they have analysts who have done some preliminary work. So you still use this as a reference in your work, but it is not the truth. The truth is what you actually talk to the customer, get the feedback, and do it as something that actually fits customer needs. And this is what working software means. It fits customer needs. It's not something that it is written in a spec. Usually these, my usual experience is that even if the whole system is specified beforehand for whatever reasons, then the end result will cover approximately, I don't know, I haven't done any measurements, but just on top of my head, I would say 50% of what's in the spec is in the actual working software. But the rest, 50%, is what actually came out during the development, which the customer thought that, we initially wrote that, but actually we need it in a different way. This is about the communication. I mean, I cannot go into all the details, but it's all about the communication with the customer as to know what they really want. And now, how to get that working software is that continuous attention to technical excellence. And this is, it sounds somewhat contradicting to this delivering continuously and fast delivering software. It seems that if you actually go into and start to do good design, then you cannot deliver so fast. And this is true in the short term, very short term, this is true. But whatever design, let's say, mistakes you have or shortcomings, in the long run, this will hurt you. And now, this is again something that many companies that claim that they're agile, that they either forget about or just don't take the time for that. And this is usually where developers need the time, and they need also the mindset to actually care for the code and go in there and work with the code to make it better all the time. This is, again, this is not something you can do as a big effort that, okay, now we did 10 stories, now we fix the design. This is a constant process that should be running all the time. When you have one story to do that story, and before you say it's finished, take some time to make sure that the design is also good, that you do some refactorings, whatever you need to do to improve the code. And that is if you do it continuously, then then you can say that it doesn't take too much time from you. If you let your design rot, basically, it will go bad, and then you will at some point. It might be that with short projects you might not hit it, but usually, or with any kind of larger project, there comes a point where if you haven't cared for your design, you will hit the wall, and you will say, or depending on what your role is that you will hit a point where the developers say that we cannot go on, we have to rewrite this completely, or we have to fix it, and we have to take a 2-week break from writing stories into actually rewriting the whole stuff or refactoring something. And this is, how many of you know who is Bob Marty or Uncle Bob? So a few. He's one of the best speakers and writers on agile development, on the, let's say, the more developer side of things, not the processes, but the developer side. He's the author of many books like Agile Software Development, Clean Code, and then he's also a frequent speaker on many conferences and a big advocate of clean code, is that you have to keep your code clean. And this is a quote from one of his, from his blog, when he was basically looking at how startups go about development, is that usually startups dive in and they don't put any attention to the technical excellence, but they just want to get something out there and then push it as fast and as hard as possible, and then they don't waste any time on anything else that doesn't give immediate business value. And this is I think the opposite of that is that you constantly have to put time into this. Or the same quote in a short way, the Bob Martin's quote: "The only way to go fast is to go well." And I also was at a conference a few weeks ago where I heard this was a lady who was a Google VP of something, basically relatively high up in Google. And what she said, it was a conference mainly oriented that there were many startups there. And one of the things what she said is, I can't remember the phrase, but the idea was that don't build your company when you're building a startup. This is building from the ground up on shaky design. So start with a good foundation. And this is especially true with your code design. You're building something that is most likely will be the heart of your startup. And if you ignore the design there, you could get your product out maybe very fast, but then you will hit a wall very soon, and then you will be stuck, and you need to rewrite the whole thing. And there have been a few claims that that is the way some startups work, that if the product actually flies, they know that they will have to rewrite. But I would, and also what Bob Martin argues is that if you go slightly slower, I don't know, the percentage probably depends on the individual developers, but I would say if you go 20% slower, if you put aside 20% of your time, or the developer's time every day, basically, to clean up after yourself, basically. Not to leave a mess, but clean up after yourself, then you will get a much better result, and you only have 20% overhead, but you have you can have a constant pace. Extreme programming has a term called sustainable pace, where you can go with a sustainable, you can sustain this pace, then you don't have any, let's say, bumps in the road which will slow you down. And this is really important, is about caring about your design. Changes. This is another aspect, is that changes actually happen. This was a case with one of our projects a few months ago, where we had been building a new feature into a system for about, I don't know, a month or 2 months. And then that customer's, the guy who was our contact person, came to us and said, yeah, we know you're building this, but our board just decided that we need this other new feature, and we need it for, I don't know, soon, basically, was the signal. So the idea was we had to stop everything that we're doing. We agreed how to basically freeze that in a situation that we can, in a way that it doesn't affect anything else. It remained hidden, the functionality that we had been building. And we switched over to the other functionality. It was all the same system, but it was, let's say, a different subsection of it. So we had to build a different functionality into it for the new requirement that came high up from the board. And this is not a unique situation. This in Russia, we have done a couple of internet banks for Russia. In Russia, the central bank is, I could say, really agile, because their requirements come out. This has to be there in 1 week or something. I don't know what they usually, but probably they don't have any restrictions. It could be that it has to be there tomorrow or something. So in some cases, these changes just fly in, and there is nothing you can do with that. I know from my own banking experience that we had, of course, longer running projects, but still things happened where requirements came in that no one knew about them initially. So you cannot prepare for them. You just know that something will happen. And now, are you actually ready for that? And one side of it is, are your contracts ready for that? And now, depending on in what situation you are, if you're building in-house to your, I don't know, as a software team for the business team, then it might be a little bit simpler because you're allocated for that business team and they set the priorities. But if you have a contract with a customer that you're billing them for what you're doing, then if you want to say you're agile, you must have your contract in a way that you're actually ready for this. So in that case, in our example, our contracts, we don't have anything about the scope of what we do. We only basically allocate people for them. And we say, these people will do whatever you like. And we bill for that. In the simplest version. There are a few But that's the simplest thing. And we really don't care. And the customer understands that. Initially, that was a little bit strange for them. But they understand that they are in control. So they can actually, and it's maybe it's not even new functionality. It's about changing priorities. We, in a good sense, we don't care which stories in the backlog get moved further up so that we have to start working with them on the next iteration, or which get moved down. We don't care. We say that you tell the priorities what we do. We have the people ready, and the people are working for you. So if you want to claim that you're agile, you actually have to have the supporting let's say, whatever contracts, or at least in a broader sense, agreements with your customer in place to support this kind of approach. You just, there are many cases where actually agile falls down is in state, where the when there is bidding for some project, and you have to basically bid the lowest price or something. This is where this doesn't work, because I mean, you cannot. And this is one of the reasons actually we are not taking part in many of the big state projects, is that we don't want to be a lowest bidder and just fix there that we will do these things, because we know that things will change and we cannot guarantee there. And there are two ways of it. One is you just put a high margin in there and say that you can do it within that time, but then it's not a competitive offer. Or you will most likely put in a number that is not the true, and then either you or someone will need to eat up the difference, basically. And that is not a way to a good relationship. So we are actually not going there. We know that things will change. We know that things are not fixed. So we want to be able to go into an agreement with our customer where that is built in. So, this is I think, the last thing I have from the principles. And this is, on one side, I have used the same thing when talking about code design. And this is very relevant there, is that you have to simplify things and keep improving constantly and finding things that you don't have to do. But the same is true with the whole let's say project, or the way you're working, is to find ways to improve your pace in a more general sense of how to get results, how to produce software faster, how to maybe skip doing things with a customer, maybe sending papers back and forth, or instead of, I don't know, having surprises every week on iteration meeting, doing something every day or something, or finding the things that are there that don't add value and get rid of these. So this is both on technical and on the non-technical side. And for this, there is a very good quote. I think some of you know by whom it is. Does anyone know who has told this quote? This is actually completely non-technical. This is a writer, and if I'm correct, 1920s or 30s. A writer who was at the same time an engineer. I think he was building airplanes or something like that. What's it? Little Prince is the most famous story by him. But this goes very well. The designer in his, and this was originally in French, but this is almost a direct translation of that. I think in his words, the designer was engineer, what he meant, and this goes very well, that you constantly have to perfect the thing, but you have to perfect through through trying to take things away, not to add more things. This is usually the case in any kind of process or organization or anything, that if they tend to add complexity because people introduce new ideas all the time, but no one is trying to perfect by throwing things away. And this is a very important concept, is to, you can only get better or get more perfect, closer to perfection, by actually getting rid of the unneeded stuff. The important part is that usually the first thing, if you need to solve something, it's either a technical problem, you have to write some code, or if it's just a problem, let's say a business problem or something, if you have to find the solution, the first solution that comes to your mind, you might think that this is the simple solution, let's take the simple path. When you look at that solution, depending on the perspective, maybe in a week or maybe in a month, then you will most likely find that even in that simple solution that you found, there are things that still can be made better. I know, because I'm a developer, I know that very well with code. I have written code that I thought was the most brilliant code, and then I come back in 2 weeks and I say, yeah, but it can be made so much simpler. And that's true with many other things. So yeah, try to find the things that need to be removed. So actually that was all. I want to, just to, as a challenging question, raise the same thing. So based on this, are you really agile? Thank you. Since we have time, I can definitely take questions, or if you want to rush to the lunch break ahead of others, so I don't mind that. Yeah, sure.
If you are building releasing several times per day, how to keep code synchronized with each other? That's a valid question.
I think it's for you then. So how to keep code sync? The question was, if you're releasing multiple times a day, how do you keep the code synchronized within the whole team, you mean then? Well, one of the important aspects for us is to, we have the development team in one place. So everyone knows what everyone is doing, more or less. And then it's still there is a continuous integration machine which takes care of the build. So if someone commits something, there is the build is done, and if something is wrong, basically the build fails and everyone knows about it. So that's the feedback loop. So I'm not sure, or maybe does that answer your question? Or even if you have a remote team, then you still have some continuous integration which takes the code whenever someone commits something, builds the system, tries to run all the tests. If something fails, immediate feedback to the whole team.
I was more thinking how you keep or solve conflicts if several people change same thing.
Okay. I think in our case, what helps is that on the daily stand-up meetings, we actually tell what each other is doing. And so if there are people working on the features that would affect the same code base, then they would know, and then that would mean that these people will discuss it with themselves later on and agree on how to not to do that. I mean, it does happen sometimes, but the key point is here is the quick feedback from the continuous integration is you get quick feedback that something broke. This is, and the whole feedback thing in both in getting from the code or anything else is the faster you get it, the easier, meaning the cheaper it is to fix that. So if you if you're working on the feature, you just thought you're finished, you get the feedback from a continuous integration that there's still something wrong, let's say, then you're still in that feature mindset, and it's easy to change that. If you get that information later, then you have already basically switched to something else, and it's harder to fix that, or you forget that later. So the quick feedback, I think, helps to solve these. But usually, but this doesn't happen that often for us. I'm not sure why that is. I mean, we usually know what others are working on, and if there is something that might conflict, we basically talk it through first. I think that's the initial how to avoid that.
Right. So I think when I saw the question, I thought you were going to talk to us about Scrum and Scrum Masters and Sprint and stand-up meetings, but actually you talked to us about the 12 principles, which are much more important.
Yes, exactly.
Because you can do those other things and not be doing the 12 principles.
Exactly.
So is there maturity in the 12 principles? If I do 9 of them, am I doing well, or do I have to do all 12? All or nothing?
Let's bring it up. I haven't looked at it like that. I believe there is. I mean, these are, in my mind, these are not. Okay, since we are doing extreme programming, I think XP is the most agile process. That's my personal opinion. And that brings a lot of practices that many people think that they couldn't do for whatever reasons. I'm not arguing that, it's just, I think these are like more general principles. So, I mean, there isn't any clear calculation like if you're doing 10 out of 12, then you can claim you're agile. But I think there isn't anything that is stopping you for going for the whole 12, in a sense. I mean, you could achieve them in different ways. Extreme programming, we believe, is our way of achieving these. There are, I think, I think that Scrum actually doesn't give you all the answers. One of my colleagues has a talk called Scrum is not enough, which is along similar lines, is that it doesn't actually help you in solving these. But there are ways of basically doing these. Many of those actually are very overlapping, which is that there isn't anything about them. I think they are, in that sense, I think you can aim for all of them, and you don't have to leave something out in that sense. But if you're doing 9 out of 12, I think you're doing quite well. Why? Which one is not possible? I think.
So I'm not in software.
So okay.
So if I replace software with other words, you go, wow.
Okay, maybe, but yeah, I think at least in building software, these are all achievable, and I know teams have achieved these through other methods, not just XP. So yeah, it is possible. Yeah.
I just have a question. I understand that you are using extreme programming, right?
Yes.
And I'm getting a lot of questions about if the Scrum have some, because I'm teaching mostly Scrum, if the Scrum kind of prevents some people from joining the company because of the culture. And I always kind of reply that it's more suitable, more easy to join the Scrum team than the extreme programming team. So what would you say comparing this?
Yeah, if you take that comparison, I agree with you. If you're, let's say, if you don't have a theme, let's say today, and then you have 2 companies that, if you have just, I don't know, hacked on your own, and then you have 2 companies to choose one, then it's, if a company just says they're doing Scrum, I would say then I wouldn't know exactly what that company is doing because as much as I know, or as little as I know about Scrum, to be honest, I don't think it tells so much about how the developers are doing their work, or it leaves much more open in that sense. But extreme programming gives much more practices for the developers as an example. So when I'm joining, so yeah, definitely XP in that sense forces me into some selection. Scrum leaves more things open. So if your claim was that Scrum is most likely easier to join, might be. I mean, our experience, we do pair programming almost all the time. And I think there have been a few cases where we have not hired people, or when people have otherwise wanted to join us, but pair programming has scared them away. And well, if that's the case, that's the case. I mean, we take that as a consequence.
That's why I was asking, because I want to check with you if you feel it or if it's just artificial threat and if you never observe it.
No, yeah, I'm not a very expert of Scrum, but I think in that sense Scrum leaves things open for the implementing company to how to organize the work of the developers. So what I want to say is that it might be, it's not good or bad, it might be that the way that the company doing Scrum might also not fit me. But I would say that with XP you know more beforehand. With Scrum you have to go into the details of that company.
Thanks.
Anything more?
Can you explain this slide? I thought it was about input.
Yeah, sorry that.
Lunch.
Yeah, this means that lunch, I think, I don't know if it's waiting for you or you have to find it your own, or, but yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you.